Hi there, and welcome to Busternet, the Football Manager channel, where I deal with anything and everything I can think of for this game. And on today's show, it's going to be quick guides. What do I do to get a team ready for the match? What are the tools that I use that are available in the game before a match and during a game itself? So here in this game, before anything else, this might even sound obvious, but I'm using Gloucester City. Yeah, you can see that on the screen because Torino is on a break, and well, we have certain limitations with Gloucester City, but I hope that this doesn't sound too obvious. But one of the first things you want to do is you gotta make sure that you're scouting the opposition, just in case you might have forgotten. I don't think you have, but if you have, then please get him to scout the opposition. If you're in the Champions League or if you're in the Premier League, then it's a good thing to scout your league as well because the information you get back can be quite handy. Now, you want the scout to be decent at judging playability and have tactical knowledge, so that when he goes there, he when he susses out these players and when he does make recommendations, at least they can be taken. However, I would advise you to use good judgment too, because me personally, honestly, my scouts have come back many times and told me to do many things, and I've just ignored them. Okay, I'll give you an example. Let me find something that my scout told me to do. Here we go. Paul Chambers, the assistant manager, comes in to me and tells me, "Dude, you gotta play a 4-1-2-3 DM wide." And I'm going, "Nope." He tells me, "Increase defense duties." No. Reduce support duties. No. I have never once paid attention to this. It's because A, I know how I want to play. So I don't want this information here is based on the developers coming in and thinking that based on a certain template, this is how you should play. It's like I'm not guaranteeing it's going to work, but I am a bit of a micromanager when it comes to football management. And I want to make sure that I'm controlling things. There's certain things that make sense. Like when it comes to player fitness concerns, I'll probably listen to them. When it comes to team shape, they have a point sometimes, but you gotta understand why the recommendation is coming in. Furthermore, when it comes to the player duty combination, now player duty combination has a very large effect on the way risk is distributed in your team. I've done a shape video. I plan to extend that with an entire new chapter on shape as well that I'll be releasing soon for all my patrons. In it, I'm going to explain how mentality shape link together with duties because you need to be able to almost visualize it on the pitch, and you can't really visualize it if you tend to think of the mentality, duty, and shape separately. You need to start thinking about it as one element that has got three parts, and you got to mix it together. It's like you know creating the perfect um, drink, cocktail. You gotta put it together. You gotta put the parts together. It's not gonna taste the way it's supposed to be. So, yeah, my advice with all this: treat this with a pinch of salt. The most important thing you want is actually him to go out and get you that scout report that you need. So here I have a scout report that's coming from Patrick about Woken. The next match is coming up. So on the first page, the first thing I like to do is I'll take his scout report and I'll have a quick look at it. The things you want to pick up straight away are the most used formation is a 4-2-3-1 wide. The most successful formation 4-4-2, and the most vulnerable to facing is the 4-1-2-3 DM wide. So against United, they were most successful formation was actually the 4-4-2. We played okay in that match, but we didn't play well enough. Now, the other thing that you will see here is this. I like this report because you don't really need to go very far. The assist locations you can see from here. This tells you that their left flank is very dangerous. I mean, okay, 5 assists in the box means they actually get into the box, and this information here, 5, tells you you do not want them. You do not want to be playing with a deep D line because they score quite a number of goals with assists around the penalty box or inside the penalty box. So, and this is like in my video exploiting the golden zone. You really want to be controlling this part of the pitch. This is my golden zone, 5 and 2, right? So if you can control this, where a lot of assists are created for goals, then you're in a good spot. Here, their left flank is very dangerous. So here you immediately gonna realize, okay, fine, they've got a left flank. Their their attacking left flank is very dangerous. So your right back or whatever system you're deploying has got to take that into consideration. Now, if then over here they are susceptible to, this is very interesting. Seven of their assists came from the middle of the park, which leads me to assume that some of these were probably through balls from quite deep, and nine from the left, their right flank. Their right flank is also susceptible. So you once you've drawn these out, you know where they are vulnerable. Once you've drawn these up and you know where they're vulnerable, you need to take a note of this, because what you're gonna do next is you're gonna do several things from this. The first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna go to one or two of their matches and take a look at some of their goals. Secondly, you're gonna see how they press. Third, you're gonna try and identify some of their key players. So here we have the first information that we can get. So it's very important that you understand where the threats are coming from, because it's going to impact the way you set your tactic up. Okay, with Woken, when you click on Woken, you're going to get this. This is just the report of the club. So you can probably skip all this entire screen unless you really want to know how they're doing financially. Then you go down to team reports and then you go to the senior squad, and there's certain things that you can look at. One, the tactics that they use. I look at this. Most of the time, I don't really. Um, but it's good information to have. What's more pertinent is usually things like how they played in their last match. Okay, if you're going to be playing them at home, then you want to see an away match. If you're playing them away, then you want to see their home game. What's more valuable is the team comparison page. Now, team comparison page, a lot of people, they just go straight here to physicals and they go like, oh, my acceleration is better. Honestly, this is the whole team. Your goalkeeper is not going to be, trying to score a goal. So it's irrelevant what his acceleration is. But this averages the whole team. So what you want to really be doing is looking at defense. So your defense acceleration is 9.56, right? Then you look at the attack of Woking is 13.0. There's a big dispersion here. So there's almost 4 points of difference between your team's defense and the attack's acceleration. So you do not want to play with a high line. That's the first news that I get from this. Is immediately I'm thinking to myself, I got to be very careful with the high line. If they play the ball through the top, over the top, I might be in trouble. So now the next thing I do is I look at their midfield. Okay, so now I compare the midfield. I look at passing, and I look at things like decisions. So passing, their passing is 9.43 and their decisions is 9.57. It's average for the league and not fantastic. Not very fantastic. So to me, when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking to myself, okay, they may not be able to play the through ball that often. When you get into the game, you're gonna see the attack now. Gloucester's off the ball is better than Woking's off the ball for for the attack, but it won't show you defense. So in terms of defense, I'm looking at my players having good positioning. Again, my positioning isn't very good. 9.11, I'm a bit worried. But I won't be comparing the Woking's positioning again. So I'm not going to compare my positioning to their positioning. It's irrelevant. If I wanted to look at something, I'll go to my attack and say, okay, off the ball is 10.2. Their defenses positioning is 10.14. Their acceleration is 9.14. So, and their marking is 9.57. So they're not very good at managing. To me, it tells me that my players might have an edge in off the ball against their team. So because my attacks off the ball is 10.2 and my acceleration is 10. So I'm thinking to myself, my boys, if I can get them behind the lines, if I can beat their defensive line, I probably will score a few goals. So this is information I get straight away from this between Gloucester and Woking. So I know that I can't play with a very high line. However, um, I can play with a medium line. So normal would be a good defensive line for me to start with, and I want to be playing a setup where I can exploit their lines as well. So this is how you look at comparisons between one team and another team. Don't fall into the trap that I've seen some videos where they talk like this. Oh, physicals, our team is good compared to this. No, this is irrelevant. As far as I'm concerned, this is the entire team. You want to be comparing defense to attack, midfield to attack. So you want to have to look at your hot zones in your pitch. And this brings me to my next point. When you've finally gone into your senior squad, you've done all that comparisons, what you can do next is you can go to a walking match, right? So what you do is go to the schedule and see how goals are conceded. So here we got Macclesfield Town. All right. They conceded a goal in the 18th minute. So I know that I want to see what the goal looks like. So here, as what I suspected, through ball down the flanks, the players marking and their marking isn't very good, and they get beaten by acceleration. And they took a while. So here, this goal was scored in the 18th minute. What I want to do next is I want to go to teams, and I want to isolate the 18th to the 20th minute to see how the team's shape look like. So I go down to 17 and 20, and I look at walking, and I look at their I'll look at their average position without the ball. So this is what they look like without the ball at this point. So their left flank is a lot higher than their right flank. So they are actually vulnerable to crosses from this part, which showed in the last game. So they got a pretty lots of gaps on this side of the pitch for me to look at. And their two central players are very close together. At this point in time, this is what was their key pass combinations. The players are quite far apart. They really depend on Kevin Murdoch at this point in time to create passes. But what about Macclesfield? How did they get past them? Again, they had the extra man support for them to get passes around that area. So they actually overloaded that side of the pitch where they were vulnerable. There's not much you can tell from these key pass combinations alone, but at least I can tell who are the players I'm going to be having to look out for. For Woking, I'm really going to be having to look out for Kieran Murdoch. Basically, they're moving a lot of their attacks down the right flank. So let's verify that by taking a whole key pass combination. You can see that for 90 minutes of the game, if I remove the heat map, this is what the key pass combinations look like. There's a lot of direct balls coming from back to front, and they depend a lot on Murdoch and Kandi to move the ball around. Finally, when they take shots at goal, Woking's, a lot of their shots came from range. Okay, they try to come in from the right side, which is what I suspect how their system is playing. So most of the attacks funnel down the right. And if I were to look at the average position of the ball for Woking without the substitutes, so I'm just going to take one with just the starting 11, you can see that their system heavily favors the right side of the pitch. So this is the analysis that goes into any match that I do. I usually don't stop there. So I will always verify this again with a match they won. They played Dag and Red. They got Gozi Ugwu. Okay, I have to be careful of this player because he's their top scorer at the moment. Then the second goal that came was in the 41st minute. They played, it's what I've been suspecting. Most of their attacks will come from this side of the flank, right, and down into Ogwu's throat. So in this match, then what you can do is once again go to the match analysis for the team. And here we got their shots on target for the whole match. And you can look at their key pass combinations, but this is what you're going to end up seeing. Key pass combinations for 90 minutes. But now we remember what their goal in the 41st minute looked like. So I'll just zoom in straight to a period of time which is close to the 41st minute. Okay. So between the 38th to the 41st, you can see that for them to move the ball up, okay, to get the ball to Charlie Kandi, they did play pretty wide and they moved the ball along the length of the pitch. So I would be wary of giving them too much space behind my defensive line. So I'm not going to play with a high defensive line. This is encourage them to play pass into space, and it will open me up to attacks by Kandi. on the right flank. Another question I get asked pretty often is the importance of the heat map. I'll tell you why the heat map is important. If you've watched Exploiting the Golden Zone, my video, I've always talked about this area of the pitch. This is the area of the pitch I want to control. I want to own that zone, because if I own the zone, it makes it a lot easier for me to create assists. Um, and I always try to prevent, or I want to try and prevent the AI from doing the similar job. You can see here the AI, well, they had a smaller zone. They managed to score. You can see that Aldershot managed to score 2 goals. And we had a real tug of war. And heat maps, they are really a relationship between your tactic and the other tactic. So some tactics do a very good job of creating heat maps, and it's easier for you to control because they create overloads naturally. Other tactics like the 4-4-2, you have to think about creating the overload. I mean, it's not that easy. 4-4-2 is too balanced a tactic. Unlike the 4-3-3 or the 4-2-3-1, these can generate really nice heat maps if you know how to compress space. But with a 4-4-2, you got to work really hard with roles and duties and shouts as well for you to compress space. And you can see that it was not a very easy job for me, but I managed to, in the end, control this side of the pitch, as well as a real my left line. Gideon Oketu was a Lord Emperor on this side of the pitch. He had a phenomenal game. So these are the things that you do with the heat map. The heat map guides you and helps you understand which of the zones on the pitch you controlled. And the darker the color, the better it is for you. If you see a heat map where you're green and blue, then it was a 50-50, you didn't really control that zone very well. But if you get this color, you should be happy, because this means you control a very important area of the pitch and you kept it away from the AI. Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Quick Guides. I'm trying to share with you everything that I know about match analysis. And in my next episode of the LLM Diaries, which is LLM 19, Gloucester will face Woken. And I'm hoping that I can apply some of what I just spoke on this video in that video. And I hope that it comes together for some of you. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. You can always look me up at addicted2fm.com, my website, Twitter at Pasternet, or as my patrons will so kindly attest to, they can also find me on Discord easily. Well, you guys take care, and I'll catch up again with you very soon. Bye bye.